Up next, then, let's skip over it. We have Chantelle Lewis. You guys, I had a fun musical number for you, and now I could do it a cappella, but no one would win in that case. No one would win. But up next, we have Chantelle Lewis. She's from this area here in London, and she has a lot of really interesting event work that she does. So she's the founder of a company called the Barefoot Planter, and they do events around sustainability with gardening and dining and various really interesting experiences that are maybe like a little bit different than some of the tech communities and things that we've been talking about today. So Chantelle, so excited to hear from you. Please welcome to the stage, with no musical number by me, welcome.
Is there a clicker?
Yes, there is.
Amazing. So I love that we've all stretched, which is great, because I was going to do that as well. But also, so if you're far away, can you come a bit closer? Is that okay? Because I don't like to get to like a, is that okay if someone can come a bit closer? I can see more faces, I can speak, like kind of look at you. But yeah, I'll get started. So you can come through, Love it. Cool. Amazing. So, hello everyone. At the Barefoot Planter, we integrate into neighbourhoods, and we try to stay away from having fixed communities. We're creating a sustainable journey from seed sowing to garden to fork, and a celebration of farm to table. Cool. That's me and some carrots. Okay. So, in true British kind of fashion, we're going to talk about the weather. So apparently we're in summer, but it's been raining non-stop for the whole week. But I don't want to make a big complaint about the weather, because I'm very mindful that in the Caribbean right now, it's experiencing the hurricane. So I want to be quite mindful of that. But one thing I definitely want to mention is that we're actually seeing the impact of climate change firsthand and in real time. So I kind of want to reflect on my own journey and my family's journey. So I'm not sure if anyone knows a place called Montserrat. Put your hands up if you know a place called Montserrat. Okay, cool. So for those that don't know, I'm from a very small island called Montserrat in the West Indies. So I left there in the 90s, and we came to the UK voluntarily, thinking that we'll be able to return. So as we was in the UK, in the UK, we got word that we couldn't return because the volcano had erupted. So, volunteers to come here became asylum seekers. So when I think about the climate change that's happening right now and how it's fast tracking a lot of natural disasters, and also kind of like raising sea levels, I think about Montserrat. I think about the people that are very vulnerable in places that they can't find another home because of kind of border controls, that kind of thing. But we're here to talk about climate. So what's it got to do with it? So I think about the people that are in these places very vulnerable, and they are not contributing a lot to climate change, but they're also being impacted by it. So I kind of jumped right in, didn't introduce it to myself, but I'm Chantelle. So I'm one of the 7 million people that took up gardening during the pandemic, and I'm still doing it. But one thing I definitely want to say is that my journey began because I experienced 2 back-to-back layoffs, but also, I quit a job, and so I was going through a lot of kind of mental health kind of worries at the time. And for me, I found a lot of mental health benefits from gardening. So one day I was just in my mum's garden, and we'll call the person a curious neighbour, not nosy. And so as I was just there gardening, being barefoot, as you do, why not? The neighbour was like, do you not feel embarrassed being barefoot in your garden? And I thought, okay, of course not, I don't feel it's my garden. But then I thought to myself, actually, the Barefoot Planter sounds a really cool name. So, I had that name for about 3 years, and I never did anything about it. Even had an Instagram post, account. And I had a friend called Lauren. She's always like, Chantelle, when are you going to post? When are you going to post? So last year, 2023, there was a lot of tech layoffs that happened, and I was freelancing at the time. And so that, because I was doing DEI, but community building as well, so very inclusive communities. And it it had a big impact on me. So I was like, you know what, it's time to kind of turn my hobby into business. And so at that time as well, I've been a board trustee of 2 community interest companies, but a lot of people still know me as the DI person. Cool. So one thing I would say is that when it comes to community building, we love to do it through the lens of the people that we serve. So when it comes to nurturing sustainable communities through growing, cooking, and eating, we engage with candid conversations, so the hard conversations, and understanding people's needs. So when it comes to partnerships, for example, we're very selective. So we're looking at things at greenwashing. We're very selective about people, when it comes to brands and understanding what's the direct impact of what they do in the revenue. Is it going to places like Congo? Is it going to places like Sudan? Is it going to places like Gaza? So we really try our best to ensure that we place people, the planet, over profit. Over time, cool. So it all boils down to social responsibility. That's at the heart of everything we do. So when it comes to our solutions, we ensure that they are sustainable focused. Our garden workshops, they foster emotional connections. Our cooking classes inspire innovation. And our dining experiences drive both revenue and impact. So all of that just means that when it comes to us being accountable for ourselves, we can do that. And we also want to ensure that we are creating equitable experiences and opportunities for our neighborhoods. Amazing. So I say this all the time, but when it comes to sustainability, I always think about my grandma. So I think about when I go in the freezer and I'm looking for the ice cream in the freezer. It's not ice cream, it's stew, or it's some leftovers. I get upset, but I just understand, for them, that is reusing things. So for me, that, my grandma is my kind of original sustainability babe. Yes. So when I go online, especially Instagram, and I see, eco-friendly pots that are £20 plus, I'm thinking, who's going to buy that? I'm not buying that. So one thing we definitely try to do at Barefoot Planter is ensuring that we can reuse things, rinse things, and recycle. So I have a good example, it's kind of embarrassing, but the first ever supper club that we ever did, my sister, bless her, my older sister, we had paper plates, and I realized that if you want to recycle them, you have to wash them. So she was there just washing it. So, we really committed to sustainability in that way. So I know we're all here to learn, and I'm just here kind of promote myself, but here's something I want to definitely leave with you. So I had a conversation the other day with a new friend. He runs a company called Public Farmhouse. And we were just talking about community, and he was like, you know what, I really hate when people use the word community when they actually mean neighborhoods. And it made me think, I was like, you're right. So I think when it comes to Barefoot Planter, one thing I definitely try to home in is that we don't have a set demographic that we focus on. We don't have a set, social, economic class, but we focus on location. So we're often based in East London. We look at places maybe like Bow, where I'm from, Hackney, West Ham. So it's all about kind of really finding the neighborhoods that we want to target and focus on. And I had the opportunity, so this picture that I'm smiling here, had the opportunity to be a part of a program called Opening Up the Outdoors with Hatch Enterprise. And it was all POC founders in the outdoors. People were doing hiking, they were doing skiing. And I was just like, I cook outside and I also do gardening. So very kind of different. But my biggest takeaway from the whole program was the importance of really collaborating with fellow community builders and kind of mobilizing together to create change. And so when I think about the outdoor space, I understand that not everyone looks like me. And so when I am creating these opportunities for people, it's kind of meeting them where they are, what's the kind of, how they feel about the outdoors, how can I kind of ease them into it without being kind of patronizing. So I said all of those things, but one thing I definitely want to say is that when it comes to Barefoot Planter, we're all about equity, accessibility, and inclusion. I create events, especially when the dining experiences, where my grandma feels welcome to come in her wheelchair, and that people come and they feel like they're heard and seen. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm not done yet, sorry. If you want to work with me, so whether it's a gardening workshop, cooking class, dining experience, I'd love to stay in touch, and yeah, thank you so much. So I think we've got some questions for me for 10 minutes. Hello. you know what? Why some people take a picture of, so I think everyone's just like cheese. Let's say community. I'm gonna take a picture of everyone as we're here. Say community. Nice. Love it. Cool.
Are you ready for some questions?
Questions. Come on, bring them.
Okay. I have some, but if the audience has some too, you feel free to just raise your hand and jump in. So my first question for you, Chantelle, is how can we ensure inclusive outreach and communication?
Yeah, so I think definitely one thing I've been doing recently is, so I'm board trustee of one company called Badu Sports. They're based in Hackney, and we've been given a mobile garden. And instead of being like, okay, here's these workshops, come along, well, actually, we've got target groups we want to focus on. So, like, for example, there's home ed, there's the elderly, and there's, like, you know, boys and girls. So why not speak to them? So I've been doing kind of one-to-ones, understand, like, what they want to do, some of the barriers that kind of lead them from not doing gardening. So I think it's, like, have conversations, that's kind of the starting point of it. And don't be shy, because, you know, if you have that one-to-one and people say things that you're kind of uncomfortable with, kind of roll with it, but also understand that you don't have to do everything. So just kind of like, you know, like meet them where they are, but also like, yeah, take feedback.
Yeah, there's one here.
Hi, Chantelle, as a fellow East Londoner, and we're in the same ether. Basically, I was going to ask, especially as community professionals, I think sometimes it feels like we don't, as professionals, may not necessarily connect with our local environments and local neighborhoods and communities in which we work in, right? And so what advice would you have? Something's coming to mind around like local ethically sourced vendors that we can use. We use like food vendors, space vendors, and so on and so forth, or like using services like yourself as a means of kind of engaging our own communities. What advice would you have around that?
Yes, I think one, understand who you're serving first. So like, what communities are you? I mean, neighborhoods are you serving? And what are the kind of like affordability issues? So a lot of the workshops I do, if we've got plastic that we have already, we just reuse them. So I'm not trying to go out and buy new ones, but I can reuse those things. There's a few companies that have like, for example, like with events, they have containers that you can kind of take and they will take it back. So you can take it from them and they'll take it back and wash it for you. So it's like kind of researching what's in your area. And if it is an event where, for example, the guests coming are not paying, are there any partnerships that you can think about? Like, hey, like you look at the research and be like, okay, like, you know, what's their, you know, the values? Do they align? Yeah, really kind of research them, because a lot of people that are connected to certain things globally, and it might not necessarily be best for your community. So I think it's just being really kind of selective of who you're partnering with and make sure that it just aligns that way.
Hello. I guess one thing I wanted to ask, because I think your brand is just so joyful and it really comes across that you just love this work. So I just really wanted to know like what your favorite part of it is, what kind of sparks joy for you in this work.
Do you know what's so funny? So like a bit I forgot to say was I've been working with like this autistic charity, and it's all young people. And I remember like doing my first workshop, and the founder was like, they had spoken to the young people and been like, do you want to do gardening? They're like, nah, it's for old people. And then they were like, I know a lady called like the Barefoot Planter, and they were like, oh, that's interesting. And they were like, why has she got no shoes on? Like, you know, is that a problem? So I just feel like the curiosity of the communities that I serve and support. And then by doing 2 sessions with them, like I was actually like, I can adapt it to their style and learn what they want. And then when I came back, they were just celebrating that they could actually, you know, like grow stuff. So I think for me, it's the people that I get to work with is my favorite part. Thank you, Boxer.
I have another one for you while people are thinking. Okay, great. So if I want to start doing some more community sustainability efforts myself, and I'm thinking about running events around that, are there certain events that are better for community sustainability efforts? What kind of events would you recommend?
In terms of like Barefoot Planter or just in general?
Oh, good question. I think maybe let's do both. Okay, so for you, like what are the ones you're finding that are working best for you? And then maybe if somebody else is thinking about it, like how do they approach it?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So I think I'll start in reverse. So I think I'm always big on like mobilizing with people that exist. So so what's good neighborhoods. So if I'm based in Bow and I know there's like existing communities, I personally would partner with them and say like, what's the gaps? So is it a case of like they haven't got the audience that they want? Can I fill that gap? Or is it a case of like they already have a mobile garden and they want someone that can come in and do like vegetarian food or vegan food? So it's like know what's there already, so you can kind of leverage off their community or they can leverage off yours. So I think that's the starting point. And then with Barefoot Planter, I think one thing I've done is like, I'm trying to do another example. I try to set myself apart a bit. So there's right now there's a lot of supper clubs. And I think my biggest thing is like, actually, there's lots of supper clubs, but there's a lot of waste that's going on. So we focus a lot on zero waste, but also as a gardener, so I'm a self-taught gardener, I bring that element to it as well. So when it comes to the garden experiences and the cooking classes and dining experiences, I try my best to think, okay, like you can go to a lot of supper clubs and it's always meat. So if it's, I can basically kind of like local vendors to support them. The menu is often like vegan, plant-based or vegetarian. So it's open your mind to like things that you're not used to. And then also being from a Caribbean background, I'm quite used to having meals that are kind of plant-based anyway, and then you just add the meat to it. So my biggest thing is like how you set yourself apart so then you kind of stand out a bit. There will be sometimes a bit pushback because not everyone wants to go to kind of plant-based thing, but it's like, can you bring them in through the gardening workshops, kind of whet their appetite? Can you bring them through maybe like a free kind of, so we do a thing called Sip and Plant, where we get like a partnership to cover the beverages and the snacks, and then we kind of just do like repotting stuff and seed sowing. So it's just kind of find ways to kind of create that touch point where people feel comfortable to start conversations.
Can you actually talk a little bit more about that partnership piece you just mentioned? Because I feel like sometimes that's things that we're not sure how to approach it or where to go. So especially with community sustainability efforts, elaborate more on the partnership piece for us, Chantelle.
Yeah. So I think lots of people are very like funny, but I just love to ask for things. So I think it's like, do your research and like find out what the brand cares about. So always look at the sustainability section on the website or even like past campaigns they've done. And just write an email, like you can do in ChatGPT. But basically just like this, you start with like, hey, you say who you are very briefly, link your website, and then just kind of find something that they've done recently that really aligns with your values and use the keywords that they have in the website. And then just make it really clear what your ask is. If it's, are you asking for free bottles of, like not alcoholic wine? Are you asking for them to kind of maybe like sponsor the venue? Like just be clear with your asks. And then at the end of it, kind of have a call to action of like how they can contact you. And you can also leave like maybe a partnership deck, but just kind of outlines like what you've done, social media thing, like kind of coverage and metrics. So, I mean, you can email me and I can let you know and I can send you a template. But I think it's just like try to make it more human because they get a lot of emails. And then also another thing that people kind of forget as well is you can also go on LinkedIn and find people and stalk them a little bit and just reach out to them and make friends. And I think if you can kind of build that relationship of like just asking for things, you'll be surprised who will say yeah. So yeah.
Any other questions from the audience too? Because I'm going to jump in, but we have you? No? Okay, not yet. You're shy. It's okay.
Yeah, by the way, the light is really hot here.
You're a little sleepy.
Sorry.
Okay, tell me a bit more. So if we're doing a sustainability effort kind of project, does it actually impact participation? Like, do people actually want to sign up more because it's a meaningful impact? And if so, if you're finding that works, how are you promoting that? Like, how do you showcase it in a way that does, in fact, encourage participation?
Yeah, so actually I'll answer the question with a question. So who came in for free food? Don't be shy. Who came in for free food? Okay, so I think to answer the question in a really weird way is one thing I always do is I think about my mom, and I think when she's inviting people to like a house party or something, she lures them in with food, and so every single event we do is we start with food, and then that way, like if they're not, if someone doesn't want to do gardening, they'll be like, oh, there's free food, and then they come through. So that's my kind of cheeky little hack is I don't really lead with the sustainability. It's in the print, it's very visible and transparent, but not everyone really kind of has a good relationship with that term. So I kind of lure them in with food, and then it starts that conversation. So yeah, that's my little hack.
That totally makes sense. Okay, any final thoughts? Oh, we got one up there. Thank you, James.
So I can't see.
Oh, we're coming.
Hi, Chantelle. Hey. I had a friend from Montserrat once, and I understand completely. So this is a brilliant initiative. And my question was, you've done that thing. I'm an ex-Londoner, so this is fantastic. But obviously, East London is going to benefit the most. So I was going to ask, if we want to support you digitally or without being physically present, what can we do?
Okay, love that question. So I actually I had a conversation with Rosie yesterday. Where's Rosie? Rosie from Rosieland, and she was speaking about like maybe doing like a PDF online, because I think from my background was like doing a lot of things online in terms of like communities, and so I'm trying to be, I don't know, help people be inside, so in person a lot more, just kind of build that connection. But eventually, because right now I say we, but it's me. So when I have like more kind of support, I can definitely do more things online. But I think eventually it could be like online kind of one-to-ones or sending people kits so that they can actually do the garden themselves, because it's difficult because it's kind of interactive. It does require to kind of be in person. But if it could be like maybe a calendar that I can send or a newsletter, I think that might be helpful. So that's in the works, but it's going to take a little time before I do it.
I was going to add, I have a toddler and they love getting their hands dirty.
Love it.
So if you can get kids to use with kids, I think that's great as well.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Chantelle.
Thank you.